Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. Louis Smith, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Well, I'm not as good as you. I mean, when I look in the mirror, I'm a deeply unattractive man. And here you are, you're sort of a world record-breaking athlete. You're a dancer, you're a performer, you're a star. It's a bit miserable being me today, to be honest.
You make it sound so depressing. It's pretty cool to kind of have those labels, I guess. But yeah, here at rehearsals, having a good time. A little bit tired and sore and exhausted, but it's been all right.
It's 10 years since your first Olympics when you shot to fame, and what an incredible 10 years it's been. I mean, a star of Strictly really is irrelevant in the grand scheme of your achievements. You've always worked so hard, and I guess the key to being here today to sell out this incredible tour, big venues across the country, is discipline and turning up on time and doing the work. Is that the key?
It is. That's a very big part. I did this show last year, so I kind of knew what to expect in terms of the commitment, the dedication, and what it would take to put a show like this together. And I have to say, me, myself, Asta and Harry, we've been ready to work, and we've just been trying to pick up as much as we can, as fast as we can, and just dedicate, this next couple of months of our lives, solely to putting on the best performance we can.
How does it compare trying to learn a 2-hour show in just a couple of weeks, basically, to then stand in front of the audience with a pin focus and they're expecting a spectacular? It's a huge amount of pressure because to get to the Olympics, you've dedicated your whole life, haven't you?
I have. People always ask me, how does it compare to training for the Olympics and stuff? And this is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done last year, and this year is even harder. Because Gareth, the creative director, he wants to raise the bar, so he's really kind of pushing us to our max. And with gymnastics, I've done it all my life, so I'm used to the training, the forces that I put my body under. Whereas this, it's still relatively new. I'm doing things I've never done before, and I find this a lot harder. I mean, 8-9 hours a day rehearsing is pretty tough.
Yeah, incredible. And I wonder how you cope with that. Is it eating twice as much as you were this time last month? How are you still alive? Because you're burning a ton of calories, aren't you?
Yeah, it's very tough. So I have a good substantial breakfast, big lunch, big dinner, and just drink a lot of water. Because it's not just physically hard, it's mentally hard as well. You get you get drained, and when you're sweating, if you're not putting enough fluids into your system, your body's going to struggle. So it's really tough, and just trying to keep well fed, keep hydrated, and just trying to keep the brain as active as possible before it starts to just melt towards the end of the day.
Tell me what we're going to get in this show. I mean, it's huge. You've got a big ensemble of dancers, you've got a beautiful live orchestra.
Well, what we aim to do is give the nostalgic feeling of 60s. So, with the costumes, the hair, the styles of dance, the kind of visual effects that will be played, those are going to be incredible. So those are nostalgic enough. We've also got a live band to make the music more authentic, and it's just going to be absolutely brilliant. We want it to really feel like, although some of the audience wasn't around in the 60s, this is your moment to feel what it's like. So we got a lot of good feedback last year through the 50s that we did. And people say we'd go just for the music and we'd go just for the dancing. The fact that they're both together, made for an excellent show. We had all 5-star reviews. So we're looking forward to trying to do the same this year. But new decade.
What's life going to be like on the road? I mean, I presume you'll have a tour bus. I mean, will it be, sex, drugs and sausage rolls, or will it be to bed early so you can do the show the following night? Because you haven't got many nights off, have you?
A few of the professional dancers are saying like this tour is very different to perhaps what they're used to, because in other shows there's probably chances for them to take their foot off the gas and they can relax it, and they could probably do the show the next day feeling a little bit tired or hungover. Whereas this is so full on. You've got to be switched on every second, because injuries and things like that can happen if you're not respecting what we're doing. So this is a very hardcore tour in the sense that we'll be performing and just trying to stay focused, unfortunately. So
I was talking earlier to Aston about being a role model, and especially right now, there's never been more negative headlines about young people and growing up. And I wonder how seriously you take your job as a role model, because that's what you've become in a way. Is that important to you, that you make wise choices and that you show people if you work as hard as you have, you can achieve what you've proved to have done?
It's I don't know. It's a fine line. I try to stay true to myself. Which is always difficult when everyone's watching you. I try to inspire people and say, look, sport can change your life. But at the same time, I try to be me as much as possible, and trying to be me and trying to be the perception of what people have of me are sometimes very different, and it can sometimes get me in trouble. So I like to try and say, look, if you want to be like me and use sport to change your life and your family's life, great. I don't necessarily mean follow everything that I do. I'm my own person. There's things you're going to agree with, there's things that you're not going to agree with. But yeah, sport can change your life. So that's the message I always try and put out there. But it is always difficult to live up to people's expectations, because people put athletes on such a high pedestal. But the reality is I'm human. I grew up in a very rough area. I haven't had the same upbringing. It's just been my mum. I haven't had the discipline and the support of a dad around. So my reality is perhaps very different to some other people's reality, and to live up to that expectation is sometimes quite hard.
And that microscope is so unfair in a way, because we're all human, and when we're in front of the camera we behave in a certain way, and what we do off it should be our own business. I guess the trouble is today everybody's a journalist with iPhones and cameras, aren't they?
And that's what I mean, everyone has an opinion on what you should be like, which is tough. And I know we ultimately end up putting ourselves in that situation for people to judge our lives and to expect certain things. But ultimately you have to be realistic and say, look, everyone's human, everyone has their own lives. When I'm on TV, I try to promote a good image and promote the right message. So yeah, it's a fine line.
I think you were an inspiration, especially Strictly was a turning point for you as well. It showed a whole new audience, a whole new you in a way, and that's what this show is bringing to the regions as you tour 40-something dates, and it's going to be amazing. I guess at this point it's the hard work, and then you can sort of enjoy it when you're in front of the crowd. Is that the bit you love the most?
Yeah, so in this sense it's kind of like training for the Olympic Games. You do all the hard work in the gym, we do all the rehearsal work, that's the hard part. Blood, sweat and tears, aches and pains, getting up early. And then when it gets to the show, that's when you can really start to enjoy it. All the steps. So yeah, it's like the Olympic Games. Once you get to the Olympics, that's the fun part. You can enjoy it. Just getting there is the hard part, but really looking forward to it.
I think you're truly an inspiration, and you work so hard, and you don't always get a fair ride, but you always come out on top, and that's all that matters, Louis. Thank you for your time.
Sure. Thank you very much.